Just start on telling me the exact story. There's just BSing about your story about the anxiety. Let's start there.
Just growing up with it?
No, just the story you're telling me the other day.
Monday. Yeah. So when I was snowboarding, I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit. But I had snowboarding. I've had over like the last decade, there's a period of like 2 or 3 years where I'd have panic attacks daily. That's when I was drinking a lot.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. Is it chilled out since you quit drinking? Like,
yeah,
the
frequency for sure.
So was this one just out of the ordinary? Like just came out of nowhere?
Yeah, and I had 2 when I was in Hawaii.
Hawaii, huh?
Yeah.
What brings it on?
What I honestly believe is I've noticed a pattern, every time I'm like really challenging who I used to be.
Yeah.
And the things that were put on me as a child, I don't know if I want to use the word trauma.
Right.
But just when I really try and challenge those things and not be the same person that I was and not be how, my parents were at times, or when I really trying to make changes, these things will come up. And what I really think it is it's my subconscious feeling like it's dying. Like part of me, like I am killing part of myself. And I think my subconscious really just does its best to resist that change. Because for whatever reason, we're all resistant to change, even if it's good,
Yeah.
We would rather stay in like a comfortable pain than try and change and progress.
Yeah.
But since, coming here, like starting, so really taking a look at like who I am, how do I respond when I'm afraid? How do I show love to people that I love? How do I get out of myself to help?
Right.
And, that's not always easy to do. But anyway, what I think it's a test. I think
it's just physically, like you just go nuts physically, like your heart rate.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain.
Like you feel like you're dying kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Monday I called a friend. She didn't answer. Good thing I called my mom, stepmom. She answered. And I just was like, and my pride will tell me this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like why I'm healthy. But I just said, hey, I'm having a panic attack and this one like is serious. I really feel like I'm going to die. My heart's slamming.
Jeez.
And it's just as terrifying. I don't know
how long does it last?
The one on Monday lasted like 3 hours. I've never had one last that long.
But what do? You laying down, breathing, like what's the way out of it? Like you just have to endure it?
Yeah.
You have to calm down your mind? Like is something going on in your mind like where you're just like you feel like everything's caving in on you?
No. That's the thing. Is like it's a complete like autonomic nervous system response to something,
Wow.
But anyway, I talked to her for a while and she asked me, she's like, well, what are you afraid of, really? And I was like, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to leave you guys. I don't want to leave my family. I don't want to leave my friends. And, she was like, well, what if you did die? Like, what? Do you really think it's going to be that bad? Like, really challenging it because she knows how I think about things. And then I was like, no, it probably won't. It'll probably be just fine. I do believe in an afterlife.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think happens when you die?
I don't think I'm ignorant enough to say for sure, but I think I think our soul does continue on.
Yeah.
I think we do have all these terms that we try and apply to things that we have no idea about is tough, but like the term soul contract
right
is something that I believe in. I've spoken about, like my mother, that side of the family, and,
Right.
Some stuff from my father. And I really have taken it upon myself to end those habits that continue, from my grandfather and so on, and
Yeah.
all these things, and victimhood, and just so much hate and fear and resentment.
Yeah.
I'm like I sacrificed relationships with an entire side of my family to change these things, and I'm doing it, And I think that's why I was put on this. I think that's part of my mission here, is to supersede those problems. If and when I do have children, they're not going to know. They're not going to know, they're not going to feel a lot of the things I felt growing up, guilt trips. They're not going to feel like they're the source of every single problem, or they're not going to feel like, when I was a kid, I felt like I was the source of all the problems.
What was it? Like, what it looked like? Give me an example, like, if you want to, like, of just like some experiences. Cause I got some stuff as a kid that messed with me too.
Yeah.
But like, what told you that was those fears and stuff? What type of experiences happened? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think obviously hindsight is like, I'm looking back on that experience through the filter of my memory as it is now.
Yeah.
But I've always been very empathetic, especially to your mother. That's
Right.
like, you're supposed to be your safety blanket, it's like,
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of, emotions that were put onto me that had nothing to do with me. A lot of guilt trips,
Yeah.
a lot of like just making me feel bad in weird ways, like really passive aggressive stuff. And, some of which these behaviors, like, is a lot of the way I acted in my early 20s. And some of these things will rear their ugly head now still.
Yeah.
When I get scared and when I get angry, I'll find myself, spinning out of my head, saying things that are passive aggressive or things that I don't even think, but I'm just trying to get a response.
Yeah.
What that is, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I think there's just like my whole childhood.
It's a trip, huh? Like the childhood stuff's interesting when you start looking back on it. Like, I look at my childhood, and for some reason I always had it built up in my head that I had to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And my dad never did anything like that to me. Like, I remember my dad saying, dude, if you want to play the violin, I'll support you.
Yeah.
But he played professional baseball, and I don't know. I took it on myself. I was like, I am a failure if I don't play collegiate Division I baseball and become a professional athlete. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there was a couple other things when I was a kid. Like, I remember coming home one day in like third grade, and my mom was crying, and she was like looking at my report card, and she gets sad about this, but it's nothing she did, but she was just like, I wasn't paying attention in school. You know what I'm saying? And so then they took me to the doctor, and they put me on Ritalin. Right. And I remember I had to go into some resource classes. Like, they put me in these resource classes. I remember I felt weird. I was like, I guess I'm dumb. Like, I'm not, something's wrong with me, And so and now I'm taking I remember the first day I took a Ritalin pill. I remember the walk to school. I vividly remember, I was like, wow, this walk to school is so fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I had to take one at lunch. Same thing. I was like, oh, and then after a while, I remember I forgot to take one on the walk to school, and I was like, this sucks. Like, this isn't fun. I'll never forget to not take this pill. And then at lunch, I'd look forward to it. And then I remember starting dreading the afternoon. I'd be like, can't wait till the walk to school. Like, that addictive thinking. I don't know if I've talked about that on here yet or not, but like all growing up, my entire life, I thought I was dumb, like legit, like I'm not smart enough to do school. And then I couldn't pass the ACT. So now I'm trying to get up, I got Division I colleges and you got to get a 19. And I was getting like, 14s. And I'm like, I'm just so dumb. I had to get a tutor and couldn't do that. And then I remember so then I got to Wichita State and was doing horrible. And we'd have these team meetings with our coach, and the coach would just make fun of the people who were doing bad. So, and he'd pull up mine. Oh, look at Hawkins, look at his grades, and in front of the whole team. And I was just like just felt dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like that type of schooling all growing up, and then I remember I started to just get to know the teachers. This is how I passed college. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get to know these teachers. And I started becoming friends with my teachers. And then because of the relationship I built with them, I was like, I'm actually going to listen and try to learn what they're laying down.
Yeah.
And once I linked that up, I was like, this isn't hard. All I need to do is kind of listen and try to learn this. You know what I'm saying? And I was never good at the ABCDE test, like an ACT test, bro. I don't know where I'm going, bro. But I think similar, my whole life, I've never really felt too confident. It's I went and got 2 master's degrees, and I think the only reason I ever went and got those master's degrees is because I wanted people to think I was smart.
Yeah.
It's look, I got an MBA. And the thing is, I didn't really even learn anything in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it looks neat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I notice I am not dumb, but I for sure don't really learn the way that I would, maybe I wasn't the way that they were teaching me and laying stuff down as a kid, just wasn't my style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But that's kind of some of the stuff that's happened to me. That has met, and other things. There was another thing that happened as a kid that I don't really want to bring up on here, but it was, it was hard on me, and kind of a weird thing that happened. But we have all these things that happen to us as kids, and you don't realize how it affects you.
Yeah. You don't until you start peeling the onion back, But I think I've always been very introspective.
Yeah.
Always have thought, deep or whatever.
Yeah, to me, bro, you're one of the, when I think about you as I've gotten to know you, you're one of the most mentally tough dudes I know. Well, and that's why I want to get to know you, because I can tell you've had to work hard to get to where you're at now. You know what I'm saying?
I've tried. It's funny. Well, just like you saying, I'm one of the most mentally tough people you know. It's I'm not good at taking compliments at all, but I'm what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know we all know all of our problems.
Yeah.
And, there's 4 or 5 people on the planet who I will tell my deepest fears to and really, really open up. And then once I've done that, I'm like, God, I look like such a baby, or I look like such a wimp, but I know better than that. I know it takes a lot of strength and that's how I looked at it. When I started I was I'm not gonna be afraid to tell you what I think.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be, I think it takes more courage to be vulnerable than tough it up or be a man, all that stuff that you hear. And I've never really adopted that because I'm you guys are just afraid.
Yeah.
You're just scared. That's why you're not being vulnerable. It doesn't equate toughness when you just shut things down and hide from them.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. And I've never wanted to live like that. I think I don't know where that comes from. I mean, I look at my dad and he's had his you know, struggles. He's got 10 years, almost 10 or 11 years clean. And yeah, it wasn't always peaches when I was a kid with him either.
Yeah. So is your mom in your life now?
No.
No.
But with my, you know, my dad was a constant, you know, we weren't moving all the time. There wasn't new girlfriends all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to speak poorly or in favor, but that's just how it was.
Yeah.
And I've always looked up to him. He's always just been the man to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it should be. Your
Right.
kids should look at, you know, your son should look at the father like that.
Right.
And I'm lucky enough to, still to this day, he's my favorite guy on the planet.
Yeah.
And I've never, to watch him grow, both him and my stepmother, you know, because he went through the ACT and
Yeah.
he was pretty bad off. But now those two were like, they're just so happy. And you can tell they're just content and they're at peace because they've done the work
Yeah.
really hard. And, you know, those two have, they have an understanding that they love each other and they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So you see that and you're like, oh, I'll just do it like that. But
Yeah.
I would beat myself up for feeling like I wasn't as tough as my dad, or why am I more sensitive? What's wrong with me? You know, why?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that stuff comes from my mom, which is a good thing because it allows me to be, again, going back to being empathetic, it allows me to really understand people without them even saying anything. You know, people I know well, I can look at and determine, you know, probably get a good understanding as to how they're feeling. And I've been told that that I'm good with people, and I definitely try to be.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. Like, if I make eye contact with somebody, I'll chat with them, homeless guy, or,
Yeah.
you know, everybody deserves to feel heard.
Yeah.
And everybody deserves to feel like, oh, that person cares for me. You know,
And that's the beauty of becoming an addict and having to work on yourself. When did you start taking yourself out of reality? Were you pretty young?
yeah, I think the first thing I was addicted to was energy drinks.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I loved, when I was like 13, 14, I'd skate to Smith's and get a couple Monsters and just get wired
And you're an ADD kid, weren't you?
I just hyper. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think everybody has ADD.
Yeah. But were you like, did people tell you? Because the same thing with me, but like, you didn't go on medication or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
No, not until I was,
Yeah.
no. But yeah, I think that was the first thing I was like, oh, I can drink this and I'll feel different.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that association with, and then I started, I've always been really into music, but I started listening to like getting really into Pink Floyd and smoking weed at like the same time.
Yeah.
And I remember walking across the street to my buddy Steven's house, listening to Any Color You Like. It's a great track, but still. And I remember thinking like, I'm going to be stoned all the time. And I'm going to listen to Pink Floyd all the time. Because it was like, it was just
like
so
you stepped into the game. Like,
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is great. But I was probably fleeing a sense of distress, you know, at home, or was fleeing something. Back then, you don't have that awareness. You're just a kid trying to navigate your own emotions and go to school and do whatever's there. But I was definitely trying to get away from something. And it was probably just that emotional distress of like, fuck, what did I do wrong today? You know, or how did I screw up today? Or why is my mom mad at me now? Or, you know, because you can look at a person and you can tell they had two parents growing up who loved them. You know, you can do that.
Right.
Like I have friends like that. And I'm like, we're not even on the same planet, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we can be best friends and like brothers, but things are very different.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell. And so, you know, going back to, that's what I'm going to provide for my family.
Yeah.
Is that feeling. All this stuff, you know, generational trauma. The word trauma, I don't know about. Problems. A lot of problems were handed down to me.
Right.
And I got blessed with the awareness that they're there. And I got, you know, given the awareness of how to change them and the will to be like, screw all you guys. This stops with me. I don't care what it takes.
When did you start becoming a searcher? Like, when did it start getting bad where you started suffering deeply with alcoholism and drug addiction to where you were like, you know what, I gotta become a searcher? Because you're a searcher. I mean, I've talked to you and you're very knowledgeable about the mind and coping skills. Like, when did that start happening? What did your life look like that forced you into becoming that searcher?
Like when I really started using alcohol as a crutch?
Yeah. And like, or just when it was as bad as it was.
Yeah, I think a lot of fun leading up to this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was all bad,
Yeah.
but that's like half the problem is the fun. It's like a meter, you know, it starts to run out. I went to Weber State and God, I just had so much fun all the time.
House parties and the bar.
Yeah. Just goofing around.
Doing coke.
A couple times.
Yeah.
But now I never, luckily, due to my anxiety and panic attacks, I did coke a few times. The come down was...
Oh, yeah. It just drops you in a hole.
Thank God. Because my personality, if I didn't have that, I probably would have been the biggest cokehead on the planet.
Yeah.
Or something. But I think... I think the first time I was in love with somebody and messed it up because of those behaviors I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That I wasn't taking accountability. I wasn't being honest with myself. And this person was kind enough to, you know, be like, hey, I just see like patterns developing, and I don't know why you have to drink a half bottle of Wild Turkey on a Tuesday, you know, and stuff like that. And just the dumbest excuses, like, well, what does it matter? I'm working and I'm doing.
Right.
And I knew because my dad had gone into rehab at this point. And deep down I knew, like, yeah, I'm his clone. This is probably a problem. And I'm not going to stop either, you know. And then I just nuked that relationship, not realizing at the time how much it meant, hard to do. But I just continued on. Like a month later, I got fired from my job. I got fired from a job working with teenagers because I was hungover all the time. And like, I was moody and like.
Yeah, smelling probably.
Yeah. And I remember getting fired, driving to the liquor store, buying a bottle of Old Forester, which I found out. I brought it to a friend's house like a year and a half ago. I thought it was good. He didn't like it one bit, but it's like 100 proof whiskey, you know?
Oh.
And then just started drinking a ton and being extremely volatile with my emotions. And like, I've got we all have like a strong presence, but like when I was drunk, it was like, I'm right here and you're going to pay attention to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to show you how mad I am. Or I'm going to show you how sad I am. I remember one time.
Well, so dude, this is funny you're saying this, bro, because Evan would tell me about, he's like, bro, I got this buddy that needs to do war. Like, and he was talking about you.
Yeah.
Because you guys had some kind of weird falling out for a little while, didn't you? Like, where you, I remember you got sober, or I can't remember when it was. You went on a run with sobriety because you'd like done something that you pissed off a bunch of your friends or something. One of them was Evan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the times I was at Brewski's, got way drunk, made a fool of myself, called out one of the bartenders for cheating on his wife. I thought I was doing the right thing. But apparently you can't yell in a bar and you can't call people, you know.
Yeah.
I was in, like, the way I presented my case was wrong.
Right.
And after that, I think it kind of, he was, you know, but we'd have always been friends. Like, we've never had a hard time.
Yeah.
It just changes, like a lot of friendships do.
Yeah.
You know, but, yeah, I remember I was living in an apartment across from Weber State. Went out with some buddies. It was wintertime, and I had these boots on, like these serious boots, and I couldn't unlock the door, and I got pissed and just kicked the fucking door in. And it felt, you know, in the crate, it felt good to just put my boot through the door falls flat. It's like in a movie. And all my roommates are just sitting there. Like, I could have just knocked.
Right.
And they were like, you got to go. I got kicked out. I got kicked out by, like, no, I'm not going to say that, but I got kicked out of like the shittiest apartment you can imagine. And I was like, God damn. So I moved in with a buddy, lived there for a couple months, got kicked out of there just for being a psycho.
Yeah.
And then it just got really bad. I remember this is in 2016. So yeah, I was sober for like 7 years.
Because I ran into you up at Basin. Remember that day? I hadn't seen you in a long time. I was up there with my kids, and you were doing good.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were up at Snow Basin, and I just barely
Summertime?
Yeah, it was the summer, and
I had ran up.
Yeah, and you were doing good.
Yeah.
Like, you were sober. You were on fire during that time.
Yeah. So yeah, that was when I went to the ACT and was like sober for 7 years. But I moved into this house that at one point, this house across from Weber State, it got torn down. Thank God. It's like a cursed, bad place.
Right.
But I remember getting so drunk at a party and going back to that house as my friend's house. And he's like, you can sleep on the couch downstairs. And I was like, I'm not going in there. Fuck that. I'm not going in that house. Like, it just felt bad.
Yeah.
So I slept in the dirt on the front yard because I didn't want to go into this house. And then a year and a half later, I'm living in that basement. So it like shows you how far away you'll get from what you think is right or wrong, and what you feel is right or wrong. And living there, Jesus Christ, it was
just bad deal.
Bad. Yeah, drinking a lot, and just I've never been able to be like in denial of something. Like, I knew I was a loser, like, in effect. I was like, you're a piece of shit. You're a loser. You're worthless. All these things. So then I started getting like, I could just kill suicidal. And then like really started to like think about it. Like really be like, yeah, I might do that. And like, it's nuts to think about. Really not, That's where it took, just being so hard on myself.
Yeah.
Being so critical of myself and not at the time, not seeing a way out.
When you had those thoughts, like those suicidal thoughts, like, were you really close to doing it, or was it just like you kind of had just the thoughts of it? Because I've had those, like this last run with Kratom. Like, me and you talked about it before, but I never had a substance that led me to such dark thinking as that Kratom.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would climb into my head sometimes, like, dude, it'd just be better to be dead, and I thought about but it was never like where, I don't even know if, never like I would do it. It was a lot of like, I wish a car would hit me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a lot of that. Isn't that wild how a substance, like,
oh yeah,
when you start living like that, it's almost like the devil climbs in you and just wants you to do it. You know what I'm saying?
That's honestly what I believe it is. Because I remember my buddy had a shotgun upstairs, and I was like, I remember texting him. I was like, hey man, do you think you can get the shotgun out of here? And he was like, fuck you, just quit drinking. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, But I didn't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the time, it really felt like I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think I was so down on myself and like I was unable to be happy for anybody. I'd see my friends doing well. I would just get jealous.
Yeah.
And like
resentment
and find excuses as to, but that's what led me to going to the ACT. And it was a great program.
Yeah.
And
that's the old Action, right?
It's
was Action around, or did you go into their inpatient?
I did the evening. I'd go in the evenings up at Ogden Regional.
Okay. Was there an Action recovery around yet?
No, this was
okay. So Rick was there, Visser.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think we're talking about different. But it was in Ogden Regional.
Yeah.
And that was great. That I learned how to like take real constructive accountability rather than just beating myself.
Yeah.
Beating up on myself.
Right.
Like, I think everybody could benefit from it's like doing a research project on yourself.
Yeah.
And I really think no matter what you're doing, if it's good, if it's bad, to be fully aware of like, how is this affecting me? Because we get so pigeonholed into our routines.
Yeah.
And that, that our routines construct our way of thinking, how we feel. And then sometimes you're like, why am I even at the gym right now? Like, I didn't want to come here. What am I, like, I'm just used to coming here, so that's why I came.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or this is how I respond when I'm angry.
Yeah. Like really self-aware. That's why I'm so like this whole man in the back thing, like is big, is becoming an observer of your thoughts. Like, all right, like so much so to like, all right, if I choose to attach to this thought and keep going with it and practice what I want to say, and I'm, you know what I'm saying? And I know for a fact I'm going to end up suffering if I keep going on this narrative. So I'm going to back up from it. I'm going to get present, and I'm going to be a watcher for that narrative, because it's going to cause me to suffer and think negatively and give me anxiety. And then I'm going to get a craving to go pick up Kratom at the Sinclair, and I might do it. Like, that type of awareness of those thoughts and behaviors that will cause you to suffer. Right. And that's, it makes you wonder about anxiety, like, because it's a big word, right? Trauma, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that around, because I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, I feel bad for the listener. We're just going on we're just going on a roller coaster.
Well, no, it doesn't matter. This is for me.
Yeah. Same.
This is for me and you.
Yeah.
If people want to listen, good on them. But like, I don't know, I wonder if people would learn to because it seems like anxiety is like just lacking feelings of accomplishment, or like you can't get up and do, or I don't know. I'm thinking about these kids, right? All these kids I'm working with, and anxiety is the buzzword right now, like, or trauma is a big word that people are using. But like, really, like, if you just get up and go to school and make a series of correct choices and just kind of participate in the grind, because life is that, wouldn't anxiety go down?
I think so.
Like, the self-love thing, that's another one that how do you get self-love? Like, the only way I can think of getting self-love or feelings of self-worth is, again, participating in a series of correct choices. And a lot of what you're putting in your day is some orchestrated stress, like where you're like, all right, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it. Like, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, I'm proud of myself for sticking to this system. And then you would feel some self-love.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? Is there another way? What do we do? What do you do with anxiety? Because what you're talking about was your physical, right?
Yeah. I think it's tough, especially for kids now, because these goddamn cell phones that we all have.
Right.
And all the external stimuli is forcing thoughts upon you.
Right.
So a lot of times people don't have, or they're not giving themselves enough time to construct their own beliefs and thoughts on like what they actually think about what's going on. They're just being told so-and-so says ...
Right.
Or they're being fed a narrative. So it would make sense, because anxiety to me is like a lack of control. Like, oh, my heart's going to explode. I can't do anything about it. Then I start freaking out. Or, yeah, to put it simply, it's like a lack of action, because when you're on top of everything, when you know how you feel about everything that you're doing, you know, everything that you're doing has direction. When all those spokes of the wheel are strong and the wheel's rolling, you're fine.
Yeah.
You know, but one of those spokes gets bent, crooked, you're wobbling.
Yeah.
Then you start to feel a little more anxious, you know, but then you have to develop tools. Like, this took me a while, but you have to learn how to compartmentalize stuff. And like, oh, I'm just stressed about X. Everything else is okay. I can return to that later, and I can think about this at a later date. That's not always easy for me to do. If there's a problem in front of me, I like to, let's just fix it, because I want to stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work for everybody.
Right.
And, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you start to work with other people in an emotional capacity, or with work, or like friendships, and you start to really, well, let me try it this way. Maybe this will be better.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not my way or the highway. That's ridiculous. It's what it is. It's like, I'm unable to deal with this now, so I need to fix it now, when that's not the case, you know? And
yeah, that's really good, bro. Well then, so let's bring God into it, because the God side of it helps me with the anxiety, right? Like, one of my favorite terms I say to myself every day is let go and let God. Like, because I think when I try to control everything, you know, like the external stuff, you know, like I can't, you know, it's like me with what was going on with SOAR, right? And even when I, you know, came back after going to rehab and was allowed to come back to the gym, like I just felt like I just need some control. These guys don't want me here. I need to show everybody, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, do I believe that God has got me on a path or not? You know, is God, you know, do I need to start trying to control everything, or can I just show back up and trust that God's got me exactly where he wants me?
Yeah.
That mentality for me is helpful.
Yeah.
You know what I like putting pressure towards that type of belief system, because I just want to control everything. Like, you know, same thing with money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always worried that I'm going to lose money. Like, how do I make money, or how do I'm making good money now, but then it can be taken from me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When, I don't know, do I believe that God's got me or not? What do you think about that? What do you think that mentality for people that have anxiety?
Well, when you say like let go and let God, so third day in 2016 when I went to rehab, the topic of the meeting was a higher power. And at the time, you know, to my self-imposed, you know, like sense of power, I was like, well, I can't, just trying to be so analytical and trying to be so logical about everything probably is a way to prop up my ego, to give myself a false sense of control.
Right.
Like, I know this. I know how to think about this. And yeah, I remember the topic of the meeting was a higher power. And I was like, yeah, this isn't for me, or this was kind of rejecting the idea. And the truck, I was driving home. I had moved into my parents' house. The day I started rehab, they let me back live there. The truck I was driving at the time, not registered, no insurance, illegal, my license was fine, but I was driving home. Sheriff gets behind me on 89, right before the Sinclair, the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then he just goes past me. And I was like, what the heck? Because he gets behind me, like, okay, great. Truck's getting towed. I got to call my parents, you know. And I get home, I fall asleep, and I have this dream. And at the time, I still am in love with Stevie Ray Vaughan, blues guitarist, just a great musician.
Yeah.
And like 4 years before he died, he went through the program. His last album's called In Step, and it's all about addiction and recovery.
Right.
And one day I was at the City Club, just drunk as hell, it's like 4 p.m. And I left. I went and got a tattoo, and the tattoo, it just said God. I don't know. I think I was searching for something, like searching for a relationship, like help me out. But I was also drunk at 4 p.m., not doing too good.
Right.
And I have a dream that night, going back to that night I was talking about, where we'll never forget this. I remember it as clear as day. It's all white, and Stevie Ray Vaughan is like floating there, and he's got his guitar, and he's dressed all ridiculous like he did. And he tells me, you have to let God be God. You can't do it on your own. And then I woke up.
He said that to you?
Yeah. Like I heard it. And then I woke up and just cried my eyes out.
Wow.
Like it changed me. It changed me. And what's weird is like before I got God tattooed on me in another stupor, I got SRV tattooed on me. So to get the quote finished from the dream, all I had to do was let God be.
Wow.
To finish the quote he said that was already on my body.
Wow.
It's like you can't. I didn't even try to rationalize it. I just said, okay, I'll go with that, you know. And that did change me. But going back to, you know, how do we apply God in terms of anxiety? I think I feel for people who don't believe in God. I understand.
Yeah.
But you can just break it down and like, how can I make my way of thinking easier? Right? Because like when you say let go and let God, you're taking responsibility off of yourself. And you're like, I don't need to worry about this. It's like being a kid knowing your parents are going to take care of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go on vacation, your parents have got it. They're going to make the lunch and it's all good. We can just enjoy being a kid, you know? And it's the same principle where you're taking the weight of the world off of your shoulders. And that's way easier said than done. I struggle with that all the time. Have always had a very strong willpower. And like, if I want something to happen, I'm going to make it happen. And when it doesn't happen, you know, sometimes it's hard to reconcile with. I tried my hardest. I did everything I could. Why is this failing? You know? But at the end of the day, if you're like, well, it's not up to me. I don't know. I'm just doing the best I can, you know? But I do believe in a God and a higher power big time because I've had experiences like that dream and I've had so many other things that you just can't explain. And if you could, I don't want to know it. Let me think like this. I don't need to hear your opinions on it. And it's something, my relationship with it is so sacred that I have experiences and stuff that I don't tell anybody about. Yeah. Because it's probably because I don't want to hear anybody's opinions on it. You're not going to mess this up for me. I don't want to hear a fucking word about what you have to say about it because it doesn't matter to me, you know? And, you know, like there's like levels to it, which with what I'll share. And yeah, I have had crazy experiences induced by music or whatever, where I don't know.
You felt God in your life.
Yeah.
Did you ever try to get closer to God through psychedelics?
I mean,
or were you just using them to?
Yeah, back when I was younger, it was I wasn't using them to get closer to God, but it probably did.
Yeah.
It probably, I remember like the first time taking acid. It was on a sugar cube. I have no idea how many hits were on it, but I tripped for like 40 hours. So I don't know how many, I don't know what that was all about, but I remember
Just a ride.
Yeah. But I remember being like, no, man, I can't stress out. Because if I stress out, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
And that ended up being that was just a tough.
Yeah.
We don't need to go through all that. But I think it just opened my mind more, good or bad. Pending, who knows?
Yeah. There's a lot of people finding ways to get closer to God through those psychedelics nowadays. Dude, you just helped me so much, bro. Cause, so I love the church. You know what I'm saying? I just love the Mormon church, dude. I just do. And I don't know. I just like how it's just this little cool little, it's run by the neighborhood, and the Book of Mormon's cool. And like, but everybody wants to tell me that, all this stuff about Joseph Smith and it's just like, I appreciate what you just said. Cause you're not going to screw this up for me.
Yeah.
I don't care what you got to say about Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that happens a lot with me and the church for some reason. Like, there's a lot of people who just, they think the church is bad. I don't know. I guess it's just like anything else. People hate AA, they hate the big book, or, it's the same thing with the Mormon church. But
I think like anything.
What do I care? I love Joseph Smith. Like, that dude started a cause and brought it across the United States and created they got all these temples going, and it's just cool to me. Like, there's truth in it for me. You know what I mean? And I get mad. It bugs me when people try to throw stuff at it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I have a hard time, because it's very easy to throw stuff at the church for some reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, of course, and especially here in Utah, it's a little microcosm of that culture.
Right.
And so many of my best friends growing up are Mormon. I didn't grow up LDS.
Right.
My parents are very involved in the church. They love it. I don't have opinions one way or another. I think I look at it personally. If it's good for you, it's good for you. If it's not good for you anymore, then it's not good for you anymore.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you need to supplant your way of thinking onto people who enjoy it. I think that's incredibly selfish.
Right.
And like, the beauty of that is you can do that with anything people do across any scale.
Yeah.
You can find a way to talk poorly about working out 7 days a week. You can find a way to talk poorly about eating healthy all the time, or you can find a way to do that about anything. So what does that mean? It means we don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody tries so hard to be right all the time. From every angle, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get to the same conclusion. But everybody has a different route they have to go. Everybody's trying to find peace. Everybody's trying to find a sense of belonging and contentment. Everybody's trying to find a way to navigate this world that they feel safe in. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
What that means is nobody has any idea what's going on here. We're all doing our best. So if you can, you have to remember that when you're talking about things that mean a lot to other people. I grew up being very outspoken, you're going to know what I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to share what I think if it's going to help.
Yeah.
I really don't try and talk poorly about people anymore. I don't. Of course I'll get upset and shit'll come flying out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But I don't call people out the same way. I just do my best to be like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea either. And to think that I do, to me, is like a sense of arrogance.
Right.
I don't know what's going on here. I get so tripped out by the fact that I just exist still.
Yeah.
Like it just blows my mind that I'm here having this human experience, this spiritual experience, whatever that is. And the fact that I have this tangible feeling of a separation, that there's something else outside of whatever is going on here. That's what I fall back on, knowing that this isn't it for me. This isn't it for my soul, for my spirit. And if it is, I'm not going to know the difference anyway. So it goes back to thinking, how can I adopt a way of thinking that's going to make my life more easy to manage for me? It's easier for me to think this isn't the end for me.
Yeah.
Because I know, on the same note, how that can lead to a sense of nihilism, especially understanding how crazy I've been in the past and just saying, F it all the time. And that doesn't die. That's there.
Yeah.
So if I thought and believed that none of this matters, that's a slippery slope for me.
Yeah.
Because all I would do is, what happens if I throw the brick through the window? What happens if I drink a half gallon of wild turkey? If it doesn't matter, then
yeah.
But I firmly believe that everything I do does matter.
Yeah. What's interesting about what you said there is, because it's like, for some reason, we're on this spinning planet. It's weird. Like,
yeah.
And for some reason, there's like consequences for like different ways of acting, right? Like who put that in? So like, if you just break it down to health and unhealthy. So like, if you live an unhealthy way, drugs, lying all the time, just fighting, like, and just unhealthy ways, eating, partying, snorting, smoking, everything, right? Like, so where does that lead? Like, for some reason, there's some consequences to that life, whether it's physical or, that way life ends up to jail, because for some reason society created like, okay, you can't act that way, so now you go to jail. So why is that in place? Like, let's go back to the spinning planet. So there's consequences for acting unhealthy. And then, but if you live healthy, I don't know, just being kind, meek and lowly and humble. Like, no one can deny that being humble would be a bad way to be. Being honest would be a big one. Being more patient. You know what I'm saying? Basically more Christ-like, or more like Buddha, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you live that way, you get that, your life goes that way. Like, so why? It's just interesting. There's consequences. And I think it gets dangerous when people start saying that there's not a right and a wrong way to live.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause it feels like people want to say that in this world. Like, nah, if you think a certain way, like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's kind of a dangerous belief system, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't just attach to every thought, and because you're going to go unhealthy. And for some reason there's unhealthy consequences to it. Is this, you know what I'm saying? Is this making sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think
like
this is a big subject.
Yeah. Huge subject. Like,
trying to remind myself I'm only 31 and I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like with the advent of social media and the media and what I see people being entertained with is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, some of these reality TV shows are like some of the most famous people on the earth are like the worst people you can imagine. And it's just because they're really attractive, or they have, it's mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the teenagers being forced a narrative and being forced a way to think and being told this is what's cool, this is what's popular. But all it is it's a dumb screen.
Yeah.
It's a dumb, like, the subconscious effect a screen has on our psyche is wild, because we see something on a screen and we think it's more important.
Yeah.
Or we think it gives a sense of grandiose. I don't know, grandiose, like something's bigger than what it is because it's on a screen. That's something that's always interested me. But if you listen to, like, again, I'm going to sound crazy, but like some of the rap and shit that's on the radio is unbelievable. And I get it. Like, I know I grew up listening to Eminem and all that, and he doesn't always have the best message either, you know? But I had to like get older to realize, listening to Eminem show when I was 10 probably is not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just not. And this sense of, you know, individualism, you know, F y'all, all I need to do is get money and buy stuff.
Yeah.
That might work for some people. I don't think it ever truly does. I think people lack a certain awareness to understand how they're actually feeling about what they're doing. And I think that they're led down a path of just bullshit actions because that's what they think they need to be doing to appear a certain way to a group of people, you know? But the things that have always interested me and the things that have always impacted me are not things that you can buy, you know, sincerity, authenticity, being honest, grabbing somebody, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, I really do.
Yeah.
You know, letting people know how much they mean to you. Letting people know, hey man, I really value you as a friend.
Right.
You've helped me so much, you know. Those things that have somehow gotten harder to do. Maybe it's getting easier now, but like, you know, as men, you're told not to, or we're led to believe that that's not how you act. I've never given into that bullshit. I think it's crap.
Yeah.
I think it's so lame. I'm going to tell you how I feel about you, especially if it's good. But I'm going to tell you all the time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, one of the things, blessing or a curse, my mom always made me feel like she or I was going to die. Like, if I didn't hug her or say I love you, she's like, well, what if I died what if I left and got in a car wreck? I don't know, you know what, but those things are in my head.
Yeah.
And like, I think I use it in a good way now. Cause we never know when we're going to go.
Right.
But like, I, you know, tell my friends I love them all the time. And I just try and keep that narrative because I think those things are important. Those are the things that last. Those are the things that we remember.
Yeah, bro.
You know,
it's like, I was thinking like, it's almost like the door got opened with, like the door's open for pleasure, right? I mean, easier nowadays and I don't know if you can shut it, you know, like, so you can scroll, you get the dopamine hit, the hot girl comes up on it, and you stay out of it a little too long. And then you keep scrolling, and then next thing there's another one. And then, so now your phone, now you're getting led down this other pleasure. You know, how many men are getting pulled down the rabbit hole of OnlyFans and that whole world, and how many marriages, and you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole nother world. Like, what was it when we were kids? It was a magazine. Like, I remember you had to go to the store and get a magazine. That was it when I was a kid. Like, but the way that pleasure lights up and I don't know, like, how is the disease of addiction? Don't you think it only gets worse moving forward? Like, how would the door ever get closed when there's so much for the brain to latch onto? You know what I mean?
You mean get worse?
Just like
get harder to avoid?
Yeah, just so many more addicts will be coming into the world, because there's way easier. It's not just drugs and alcohol. I guess let's just say it. It's the porn. It's the girls. It's the lavish lifestyle, like you were talking about, like the consumerism. Like, dude, I want that life. I see that. Like, I want. That dude just moved into that house. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like that consumerism and I want that. And like, I mean, I'd like to see what it was like to make some money. You know what I mean? I'd like to give that a try. But you could see how, like, if you could buy everything, like, would you really be able to be happy if you were just able, like, you know what, I can go get a new iPad. I can go get a truck. You know what I'm saying? You ever going to be able to feel that?
I dated this girl for a while, like a year and a half.
Right.
Who was great. We had a lot of fun together. Majority of the time it was good and fun. And her family was worth so much money. They're from family started a major beer company and just crazy money. Had houses all over.
Right.
And I'm not impressed, really. I'm like, that's cool. Like, that's amazing that your family did that, but it doesn't change how I think about you. Like, who are you,
Yeah.
And so I would, we would go hang out with her friends and stuff in Sun Valley, and it was a good perspective because it's like some of the shit that they thought was a problem was unbelievable. And it was really, I'm not going to sit here and speak poorly, but it was just, I don't think it does. I don't think it makes a difference. Truly. I think what matters are the things that you can't buy. I think what matters is, how do I make other people feel?
Yeah.
What impact am I going to have on this planet? Do people know they can call me and I'll be right there?
Yeah.
Do people know that I'll show up when they need help? Do people, am I a dependable person? Because that's action. That's shit that's real. And I mean, it would be great to have a house in Hawaii. It'd be great to fly on my jet. Okay, I'll be back Tuesday. I'm going to go surf for a couple days. Yeah, but I wouldn't, if I didn't have somebody to love and share that with, it'd probably be more hollow than not having it.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, I have all this stuff, but God, I miss having a companion, or it wouldn't make any difference for me because I know what makes me happy, being loved, loving others, helping, genuine connection. That's what really matters to me. That's what really gets me motivated and going,
Yeah.
And
yeah, I do. Me too, bro. I don't know what to think about it because money's always been tricky for me. When I first started WAR, I ended up losing my house and that was hard. But I never went without, and I've watched how with money, the less you care and the more, you just keep trying to stay sober and putting your one foot in front of the other. And you become all those things you just talked about where people call you and your circle of influence grows because you're an honest person and you seek after beautiful conversations with people and you truly listen. You care about other people, money's going to work out because you're going to gain a more competency and your circle of influence is going to grow and you're going to be okay. The one thing that I'm working on right now is, so I've always wanted to have a home, like a new home, like a brand new, to build a house. That's been one of my financial goals. But that doesn't mean I should not enjoy the house I'm in now.
Yeah.
The house I'm in now is dope. And this is a new mindset shift. I've always complained about it. Be like, this kitchen, something's broke. There are holes in the wall. You know what I mean? But no, dude, look where my little family's in this sick little house. If I get to that stage of money where I can build that home, which I believe that I will. Because as I let go more of that idea and say and appreciate what's happening now, the climb. I'm interested in to enjoy the climb, because that's really where the high adventure is. It's not like I could get to that new house.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, this is stupid. There's just always going to be, the whole thing should be fun and enjoyable, I guess. And that's a mindset I'm really challenging for myself lately. Like I like this grind. I like the grind of life right now. Like I'm not going to get somewhere anytime soon that's going to make me feel better. Like I was thinking about, I've been going hard, right? I got this new job and like I've been stoked about this 3-day weekend just because we got Monday off. But like if you're not grinding, you don't appreciate that 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm starting to see life come together a little more like that, like where I'm just appreciating what's happening now. And even though like I think this little kitchen sucks, like it's still my kitchen and we're having a good time in it.
I've been in your kitchen. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. Well, no, we just complain about how it's tight,
yeah.
but like it's dope.
Yeah.
Like I'm thankful,
I think, going back to just being anxiety and being present, like thinking, I need more now.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, everybody does that. Where I live is like one of the coolest neighborhoods around.
Yeah.
Right by cross street from a golf course. I can walk to the waterfall trails, in the mountains. And yet I'll find myself thinking it should be different somehow, But all that's doing, what is that quote? Comparison is the
thief of joy.
Yeah. So, and it really is.
Yeah.
Because you can't be present if you're thinking about how things should be different. And that's one thing I've really tried to do over the last few months is just be grateful for truly grateful. Not just say it, not just write it down in my journal each morning, but like live it.
Yeah.
And emotionally be in that state where it's like, we have things that don't go our way, or you're like, God, I wish this wasn't going on right now.
Yeah.
But we can do that with anything. But we can also be grateful for just like having friends in my life, people who care about me, people to love. And we can't just sit there with our legs crossed, meditating in gratitude all the time. Yeah. I don't think that's the ticket either. But I've always believed that if you have good intentions and you have faith and you act on both of those things, then the things are probably going to work out. And if life's going to happen, bad things are going to happen. But if you maintain that mindset, there's really nothing that can take anything away from you.
Right.
Because some of the people, people have gone through, sometimes I'll sit here and think, how the hell can I complain about anything? Like, what is wrong with me that I don't have a right to complain about anything? And, I've been like volunteering, teaching, I hate the word disabled, but, people with different ailments to how to ski and snowboard.
Really?
And and it's been awesome. And that'll put you right in your place.
Seeing how happy they are too.
Just to do something.
Like some Down syndrome kids and
that and then some other stuff.
Right.
But
what got you into that?
I Googled the other day, like 2 weeks ago, just volunteering in Ogden, and looked through, and I was like, I'm great with kids. I'm great at snowboarding. Let's do that. And it's been awesome. They've liked having me up there, but anyway, it's
up at Basin.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And
what happened? What made you, what kind of spiritual experience came into your heart that made you want to find something like that, bro. That's interesting.
I just realized that, you know, I have a lot of free time, and that's not always the best thing. And I'm like, I can work out 3 times a day, or I can go try something different, or I can go help, or try and make a little kid laugh, or just be dumb and goofy, having a good time.
Yeah.
And like, no, none of this is serious. We're just, if you get your ski boots on and skis on, that's a good day, you know?
Yeah.
And just,
man, you're getting high through simplicity nowadays. Then,
well, just
the simple moments with some disabled kids, like that's getting you high. Like that's a beautiful thing, bro. That's
just being like,
compared to the Landon that was just calling out the bartender in the bar.
yeah, not good. But
now you're on a hill helping kids.
I think it's a good way to get out of your problems when it's literally your responsibility to facilitate somebody else's good time. And I think that's why I've always enjoyed kids so much, is because it pulls me right out of my bullshit, because I can't have a pity party in front of a 7-year-old, or I can't.
Yeah.
Like once my friends started to have kids, I was like, God, these guys are fun, you know, because I'm like, I can't be in a bad mood around kids. Like, how dumb is that? Like, oh, I had a hard day at work, I'm mad, you know, like that's so stupid. Like it's not about you when you're around kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not,
that's cutting me deep.
It's not your time anymore.
Yeah. That's such good. I need that, bro. Like it's the same thing with my kids. I gotta remember that, bro. It is not about me.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It is not about me and my good time. I don't want to go up skiing, or it's not about you, Dustin. Go up there and serve your kids.
Yeah. And like, I don't have kids yet, but I've always had that understanding of like, I think it's probably because of how I was raised. My mom, like, I understand how much my presence affects kids or any adult's presence. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where they're you're a guide. You're someone to look up to. You know, but I think
bro, you need to run. I know you've been doing a little bit of it, but like, are you working with Frank? Are you wanting to get involved with, you need to get involved with, I think you would kill it with those buffaloes that we work with.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be, if it's a major, I would like to, but see how it all works out.
Yeah.
If anything, just give Frank more time with his own kids, you know. No, but Frank's like so good. Frank's so great at it, you know.
Well, yeah, I think that would, like, if you're interested in that, I think you'd be amazing with those kids.
Yeah, I'd always happy to you know, hang out. And it's tough, but I didn't learn this way. I didn't learn by people telling me stuff. I had to go touch it, see it, feel it, experience it, get hit over the head with it. You couldn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, you know, that driven character is, you know, everything has its polar opposite, getting into meta crap here, but you know, things are only because they have an opposite. Love is only so amazing because there's hatred.
Yeah.
And though it's on the same wave, it's just on the other side of the spectrum.
Right.
You know, everything, like me being so driven is very great at a lot of times, but it's also when I'm sitting here telling myself like, no, I can drink a Fit the Wild Turkey.
Yeah.
You know, it's how do you balance that out? And if you look at, well, I'm going to go way off the deep end, but if you look at everything on a physical and biochemical level, everything's always trying to reach a stasis.
Homeostasis.
Yeah, everything in the universe is. And going back to when you were talking about why do we have certain things that feel good? Why do we have certain things that drive us? Why do we have these things that are just in us that seem to be inherent functions of the universe? Like, to me, that's what I'm like, yeah, something's got to be going on. Because why would doing, you know, like doing good, there's things that just intrinsically are beneficial.
Yeah.
And you can always make the argument of, well, it's good to help people because you help the clan survive and that's how we evolved. And
Right.
there's that argument too. But there's things that you just simply cannot explain that happen, that you feel, that you know are driving factors for a lot of people,
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
What do you think about, so on that path, so if there's consequences for living healthy in this life and unhealthy, do you think when you roll into the next life, there's consequences?
I don't know.
That's interesting to think about, because like if there is a God that created this planet and that for some reason there's healthy consequences and unhealthy consequences, I wonder what the next life, it makes you wonder if like the character that you create in this life. So if you get healthy,
Yeah,
then like you're further along in the next life because you got closer to God in this life. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's going into like some of the doctrine of Christ and the LDS doctrine. They believe that like an eternal progression, because you heard people say that about Mormons. They're like, Mormons believe you can become a god. That's one of the Mormons believe in eternal progression. So like if you live eternally, that you don't just pass back through the veil and kick it with a margarita and be like, I'm done. Like you keep progressing and like, keep working for God. And like, I don't know, like imagine, is there other planets that God's creating that you're going to work with him on? Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's an interesting thought, but like, I like the idea that you get healthy in this life and you keep trying. It's a life of trying and you're never going to be perfect, but so that when you do pass back, like you take that with you. You don't take wealth with you. You ever read that Steve Jobs poem, or not poem, but it's about him on his death when he's getting ready to die. Did you read that? It was basically him saying like nothing matters but the relationships you have. And like, he's like, I can't take anything with me. He was like, it shows a picture of him and he's like 80 pounds. Pancreatic cancer, and here's a dude who created art in this world, and I think a beautiful art. You know what I mean? Changed the world, but like he passes back, and said nothing else matters. He said the wealth and riches that I created just turned me into a monster. It was somewhere in it said something like that. I thought that was pretty wild. You know what I'm saying? But going back to that, like you really can. It's only about the beautiful conversations and the experiences you share with your family and friends.
Yeah.
That really matter. And so I don't know, that's an interesting, a lot of people don't want to believe that, like, oh no, it doesn't matter what way I act in this life. I'll be forgiven. Like, well, yeah, I like to believe that too, but why are there consequences in this life then if there's not consequences in the next life? Like, you know what I mean? If you believe in God.
Yeah.
And it works better for me if I do believe that this life is a test. My mentality works a little better. Like, if I believe that, yeah, like, dude, I'm being tried and tested in this life to see how much I can quit, Not that I got to be perfect, but I like the idea that I got to keep trying to be better because there's going to be some type of consequence if I don't. Why wouldn't there's a consequence if you don't do right in this life? Go to jail or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of a controversial topic, I think, like pisses people off because then people take it too far. They're like, well, you're Mormon and Mormons make you feel bad about everything. They're like, that's a big knock on religion and those holes. Like, oh, it's controlling. They're just trying to control you. Well, I don't know though. Like, I need to be held accountable. I like the idea that my higher power hold me accountable a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that I look at my higher power that he's like loving, just like my old man is. Like my dad be like, hey bro, let's go. What are you doing? you're all right. Let's go. I love
Yeah.
you, dude. You know what I'm saying? I think my God's like that. He's like, I think he's got a sense of humor too. He laughs at me. He's like, huh, what a goon. You know what I mean? Like I do with my own kid.
Yeah.
But I do think that like, if I don't try to walk the way that he wants me to live, then I think I would be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to, I mean, you don't know.
No, you don't.
But that's the way that I'm choosing to develop faith around in my life is that, you know?
It goes back to what's beneficial for me.
Yeah.
I'm one person. That doesn't mean it's going to apply to anyone else.
Yeah. And I don't.
You can try, but.
Yeah. You get in those arguments with people about religion and.
It's. Shoot me, dude. I can't.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows for sure. You know, you can know how you think and what you believe. Absolutely. You know, but don't you dare try and tell me what to think.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. You're not gonna tell me how to think or feel.
You think there's principles of truth though, like that are like things that are like true, the way of life. Like, I mean, I always go back to health, and if you took religion out and you just were like health and unhealthy, that's an easier way to look at it. Like,
I mean, stress gives you cancer.
Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
Right.
As nature is selecting to rule out stressful beings, and it's not good for the whole. But no, I think it's because it's bad, and I think that's not a healthy way to live, is to sit there and be stressed and hateful. And there's a reason you feel those things physically.
Right.
You got to pay attention. Like, oh, that doesn't feel good when I'm jealous, or it doesn't feel good when I'm full of hate. It doesn't feel good when I'm mad or having a pity party. It feels good when I'm trying to develop an understanding of how can I be more loving.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I show up in this situation for this person?
Right.
I don't know. I can try. And that's all I'm doing is just trying. Those things feel good. Like when I feel like, we were talking last night about finding peace.
Right.
And it's like, I feel peaceful when I feel like I'm progressing.
Yeah.
When I feel like I'm learning, when I feel like, okay, I've been in this situation before, I'm going to handle it differently. That feels better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's truth.
It is. And I think those things are inherent in everybody. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because that there is a guiding energetic force in everything that's alive.
Right.
I think it could be like we could just be on some, the furthest out dumb theory, like stoner talk is like, we could be another being that's like took a drug to experience being a human.
Yeah.
We don't know. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But that's like the majesty of it too.
Right.
We don't know. It's the same fascination with like Egypt and the pyramids it's this great mystery. We don't know
how they did it.
Yeah, I think if we knew exactly why we're here, our lives would feel like a job.
Yeah.
It would feel like this massive set of obligations. It'd become boring. It would be like working in a factory. If we knew everything, if we knew exactly why we're here, okay, yeah, I know how I'm supposed to react in this situation. I know, that would be extremely boring.
Yeah.
And there would be no room for personal development. There'd be no room for insight. There'd be no room for creativity. All these things that make us human.
Yeah.
Why that is, I don't know. But it is.
Yeah. It is, man. It's a high adventure life, man, that is interesting, and it's a lot more interesting too if you're living right. A lot of people think when I say right, it goes back to those of health. When you're living healthy,
yeah.
But when you're not living healthy, a lot of people think that's the game. Like that. Oh, I'm living it up. No, you're actually living it up when you start competing against those pleasures and those unhealthy behaviors. Like to live a lifestyle of health, you're starting to move towards living a simpler life. Even if you change your life with food, let's just say, like you're like, and you were a big, like, you were eating out all the time, and say you dialed your nutrition in with food, like your life it gets simpler. You start eating at home. You're not at restaurants or going fast food. You know what I'm saying? Like, So when you start moving towards health, you move to a simpler life, like simple as not as loud and aggressive, and you're able to like see the simplicity in life too. It's easier to be like, oh man, like I'm thankful. This is easy.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here on a Saturday night. I'm not at the bar doing coke and trying to hook up with a chick. Like I'm just sitting here, like watching a movie, and I'm sober. And then like, it's easier to find gratitude for me, like even when I was running on that kratom, like you can't hold on to anything. It's that, oh, I got to go get another one. I can't wait till it kicks when I drink it and it kicks in. So then you get that quick pleasure, but it's just that you can't, it's like the dog chasing its tail. You know what I'm saying? Where you're just like, oh, a little bit of, and you can't be grateful. Like I lost gratitude for SOAR. Like, now that I'm back, I come over here at night and I can't wait. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, life's a trip, bro. Like it's high adventure when you're living healthy. When you're not living healthy, you're actually just living in a third class hotel.
Well, it's,
you know what I mean? Like you're not even, you don't see the rain. You don't see the colors. Music's different when you're sober. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you're just not taking responsibility when you're drinking and shit all the time.
Right.
But when you're trying to be healthy, you're an active participant in your reality. Like you're taking steps to shape it, cooking food. I hate meal prepping. I do it.
Yeah.
But those things do help. But when you're drinking all the time, it's the same thing as being on your phone 24/7. Because you're just, well, I'll just drink and it'll be easy.
Yeah.
I'll just do this thing this will think for me.
Yeah.
This will do it for me. This will do it for me. This will live my life for me.
Right.
I don't have to do it. It's the exact polar opposite of let go and let God.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but it's exactly opposite.
Right.
And it's like giving your responsibility to something else that's going to destroy your life, or giving your responsibility to something that's going to help you. It's the same thing.
Wow. That's good, bro. You're right. It is the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Just different.
Just different paths into health or unhealthy. Literally, I love breaking it down like that. Just healthy or unhealthy, and why is that? And if you live this way, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's, you got to find, I mean, I used to like curse myself for being so emotional and like sensitive to certain things. And I used to think it was a problem. I still do. I'll still get on my ass about being a baby or whatever at times. But I understand like my willingness to go there with other people, truly open up emotionally and like being vulnerable and truly letting somebody in, doing my very best to provide a safe space for that person. That leads me to having a much deeper, much richer sense of love and like unity with those who I really do care about. Family, friends, whoever.
Right.
And that's not something I take for granted. I've always felt different. I've always felt special, whatever. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own things, but I've seen it. I've been aware of it within myself that I'm different in the fact that I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And there's layers to it. There's different depths to which you go with different people. But, in that like fear lies like the greatest feelings, like really opening up to somebody and really letting them love you there's nothing better than that. Truly.
Yeah.
There's not a toe side turn that's better. There's not a wave that's better. There's nothing cooler than that.
You're basically it's cooler than seeking after a beautiful conversation. And in doing that, you're opening up so that they feel comfortable opening up too. When that's the gift of addiction too, like your story. So you have a story now, right? And the story changes. Like my story's changed now with the Kratom and this whole deal. But like, yeah, your ability to be able to share a message, like a story about you that tells others like, oh, wow. Like I feel comfortable talking to him. And then a beautiful conversation unfolds because you opened up and told people that you're weak and on some level of where your weakness are. And they're like, oh, I actually struggle too. Like I never thought about opening. And I would say that's one of the blessings that's come into my life is that vulnerability. Like I've talked to anybody and sometimes I'm a little too, I got to be smarter about some of the settings I choose to tell people about my story or what, you know what I'm saying? Because that's cost some, but like, I don't care and people know. And I because of the disease and my story, I'm able to connect and I love seeking after beautiful conversations. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When you have that with somebody like me and you are having now, like,
yeah.
I mean, we're coming up on 2 hours. Like this is something I'll never forget. And always when I would take pills too, and it may have been the same. I always wanted that when I would take pills. So I knew I had I got 3 Percocets in my pocket. Like I'm meeting with me and Landon are doing a podcast later. Like I'm going to take these so that it'll enhance our conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've always loved it like that, but I can still get high, even higher when I'm just using God as my drug to help facilitate a discussion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your higher power.
Yeah.
So I think that's dope, bro. That's what that made me think about when you said that, because you're right.
Well, I think I love doing things alone. I went to Hawaii for 2 weeks alone and just surfed. Those things I love.
But were you seeking after beautiful conversations in Hawaii though?
Not really, man. I was on a No, I got approached a lot and talked to and stuff, just sitting there on the beach. People would come and chit chat or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be like rude, but I really was there alone.
Right.
Like purposefully trying to I'm here to sit in the sun and surf. That's all I want to do. That's all I'm going to do,
Wow. 2 weeks, huh?
Yeah. It was great.
You just booked a trip.
Yeah.
Man, need to have you talk to more people about that, because there's that loneliness side that people are struggling with in SOAR, that like where they feel like they're missing out. Like that's something big. Like what? Yeah. So you're completely secure with yourself about going on a trip for 2 weeks to Hawaii by yourself.
Yeah. If anything,
I would be too.
Easier.
But, yeah, I would be too. I would be too for sure. But
yeah.
But there's a lot of people that wouldn't be.
Well,
but they need to be, because when you get sober, you lose a lot of friends. They don't have you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're stepping into a new world.
And I had people I missed greatly while I was out there.
Yeah.
It'd be great if so-and-so was here.
Yeah.
But no, I've never had a problem with, like going back, going to Moab and backpacking by myself, or I do it because like that's uncomfortable. If I got hurt, I don't have cell phones. Like,
yeah,
that one I've done a couple of times just because I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but the whole time I was out there, don't get me wrong, I was sharing that experience with people close to me.
Yeah.
Like
through text messages and stuff, and
text, phone call,
yeah.
FaceTime.
Okay. That's cool.
So, check this out. I wish you were here. Like that's always there, but
what separates the person who doesn't dare to do that? Is it personality, you think, or do they need to just try it? Because I'm telling you, I can think of a dude right now who needs to hear this.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been shy. Like, I've never been a shy person. I've like, I don't know. I think if anything, you would just have to go try it. And like, you're not gonna, I don't know. I feel bad for not being able to understand that, but I really don't.
Yeah.
Because if anything, sometimes, and this is me being selfish, but I'm like, you're going to take away from my experience.
Yeah.
I'm going to, like, I have two things I want to do. I'm going to surf and I'm going to sit here, and I'm not going to have anybody's opinion on it. Everybody deserves to have their time.
Yeah.
And their space. There's no outside influence on me. This is a true vacation. There's no agenda. There's no scheduled programming.
Yeah.
There's no arguments about where to eat. There's none of that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's and I had the luxury.
Did you ever
now,
think about drinking?
well, no, not seriously. But I had a panic attack that was like, you could drink. It would chill you out. But I think it was just a test.
Yeah.
You know, I called someone close to me immediately and was like, hey, I'm having a panic attack, and I think this is why. It's a test. You know, evil or bad, whatever you want to call it, is trying to get me to mess this up for myself. But I was like, I'm not going to, like that one I had on Monday that we were talking about on the first of the show was, I came to the conclusion, I was like, I'd rather die than lie again. Like, I'd rather die than call my stepmom and dad and say, hey, I drank again. Like, I'd truly rather die before that happens.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to look people I love in the eyes and tell them, yeah, I don't know, man, I drank again. Like, I'm not doing that.
Have to come here and tell everybody it's SOAR.
Yeah.
And just, it just kills the trajectory that you're on.
And I'll always have that. Like, that'll always, oh yeah, I almost had a year and then I had a panic, I'm not doing that. And I think, that experience Monday, panic attacks are hard to explain, but it humbled me deeply. And I really thought about like, well, what am I afraid of? Like, because I don't sit there in like an active state of fear. I've probably conditioned myself to be so used to like overanalyzing stuff where it feels normal. And that builds up, that static, that self-talk, that chit-chatter in the background builds up. After that, it made me reflect on a lot of things. And like, I called a friend and was like, hey, I'm sorry I've been kind of ornery or cranky or, I haven't been in the best state of mind, and I've let my personal defects come out, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm not, it's not.
That just came into your heart after the anxiety attack?
Yeah, I think it was like, the best way I can describe it would be like mainlining every fear you have.
Yeah.
At once.
Wow.
Everything. It's the highest concentration you can imagine.
And so when you overcame it though, and you came out on the other side of it, then a new awareness crept into your mind about people you haven't been treating right. Is that what you're saying?
I think, well, not necessarily. It just made me reflect on, like, I haven't like done anything wrong really.
Yeah.
But just like, hey, I want you to know that like, I'm going to be better because of this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to.
So it was helpful.
Yeah.
It was helpful for your spiritual condition.
Yeah. I had to make it be helpful. Otherwise it would have just been scary. And that's a waste of time,
Yeah.
Like I had to, how can I look at this that's going to help me? Because if anything, I'll just look back and be like, God, that sucked. Dang. And that's it. But I was like, no, there's probably a lot here that I can look at and take and use to learn. I don't think stuff just happens. I think especially something like that. I've never been that scared in my life. There's one other time involving a family member. It was like a serious catastrophic injury we thought was going on. But other than that,
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather break my collarbone or tailbone again, or break my leg again, or whatever.
Yeah. Wonder if you have this, you're going to have these just like you have the disease of addiction, so that you're going to be able to relate to kids or people you work with. Because we are talking to the anxiety generation.
Yeah.
You know, and you're on the front end of that. Like, I mean, you're a young kid. I mean, compared to me, I'm 45, but like, we're these kids straight up trapped in their heads with fear. I mean, kids won't even go get their licenses, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's just like, I can think of 7 kids right now that I know by name who won't go get a license because they're scared to drive. You know what I'm saying? So it's
too bad.
Yeah, it is too bad. But that's what I'm saying. The door, that's where I was going with, like, is the door's open to that. And it could be them seeing everything on social media, the car wrecks, and you know what I'm saying? There's a lot they could play into that fear, but a lot of it's just that anxiety for whatever reason all these kids struggle with. But I was thinking about you though, like, so this last relapse of mine, the way I look at it is, now I know about Kratom, and maybe I needed to go back into the school of addiction to learn about Kratom, because I feel like it's the next thing. And now I know about Kratom, and I think I've needed to learn more about the 12 steps and the disease by listening to these other therapists. And, you know, it was a big school that I learned, and there's some consequences, but like, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a great experience for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I love that belief. And that's where I was going with, like, your anxiety. Like, and I think you're there too, is just seeing it as like, dude, I'm just learning about anxiety because I need to be able to teach these kids about it. You know, and who's going to know it better than you?
Yeah.
When if you're having an anxiety where it's debilitating you for 3 hours and you feel like you're mainlining every fear, that's a pretty intense system that you're a pretty intense experience that is going to teach you how to tell people about how to handle their anxiety.
Yeah. And I think I look at it like we were talking about earlier, challenging that subconscious way that has been my identity growing up. That's who I am. My experiences are who I am, right? And, you know, whether we're conscious of it or not, we identify with what we experience. That's how we build up our framework of being alive.
Right.
And the more I challenge those old ways and work to develop a new identity, that's going to rear its ugly head. But if I can meet those challenges, whatever it may look like, it's different for everybody. If it comes in the feeling of a panic attack, to me, if that's what it takes to learn and be, a loving parent or a loving, guide to kids, a better friend, a better partner, a better anything, I'd have a million of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would go through that absolutely time and time again if that's what it takes to, like, because I'm hard-headed as anyone else. Like, I have to learn the hard way. And if that's the way my body and spirit learns, then so be it.
Yeah.
But I have to learn from it.
Yeah.
I can't just have an experience like that and be like, man, that was crazy. What the heck?
Yeah.
It's like, no, what is this really?
Yeah.
And how can I think you have to make things work for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You're just letting stuff happen to you, and you're just kind of bouncing along and drifting and like a pinball within some emotional landscape.
Yeah.
That you can't navigate, but I think,
but when you got the God consciousness, it just changes everything.
Yeah. It gives you a why, and it gives you like, oh yeah, I'm put here to like evolve and grow. I'm put here to love people, And the only way you grow is by
brushing up against hard experiences.
Yeah.
You're not going to, like, you don't learn just from the smooth.
No.
You learn when it goes dark, the shadow work.
Yeah.
When you're in those shadows, and you stay sober through the shadow work, you stay sober through that, and you lean on God, then you really come out on that other side and have learned something.
Yeah.
Right? But like, if you escape it, like, you know, like I tell kids, I'm like, okay, these kids are with smoking weed. I'm like, all right, so you break up with your girlfriend, you're in a relationship with weed. She cheats on you with your best friend. Well, you're not really having that experience because you're in a relationship with weed. It's blocking you from the adversity experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then kids, they're like, but no, you need to know what it feels like for you to get cheated on.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever. You like, I'm using that example, but a kid needs to know what it feels because it hurts. Things hurt and life hurts. And if you're in a relationship with the substance, especially at the age of 14, you're not learning. You're not going to be able to develop the necessary grit and toughness inside you to be able to handle, you know, and that's all of us. Like, I mean, that's me at 45. Like, you know, we want to escape things, but the only time you learn is when you travel through it and you stay sober.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think absolutely. I'm not going to say I feel every generation says the same stuff. You know, these kids these days, they blah, 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 whatever. But there's, you know, we are in a different time in history that's never, you can't equate now to any time in history.
Yeah.
And I think everything you see on TV or social media, it just enables escapism, whether it's a bag of chips or whether it's a Coke, whether it's a, you know,
yeah,
IV heroin or anything. It's all, you can do this to help you navigate what you're going through, or all these prescription pharmacy commercials.
Yeah.
You know, it's just people have no idea how strong they truly are because they don't have to use it.
Yeah.
Or they think they don't. They've been led to believe that everything is supposed to be easy and, you know, all this, you know, just like saying, oh, well, all of your emotions are valid. No, they're not. I'm sorry. My emotion for wanting to kill myself isn't a valid thought.
Right.
Or people becoming consumed with rage isn't a valid thought that we should entertain. And, oh, no, it's okay. We should accept that. No, I'm sorry. But some shit just sucks.
Yeah.
Some things are just hard. And that's all that they are. How do you respond to that? How do you take a lesson from that? That's where it matters. You know, we see it now where kids are being coddled to death. You know, the helicopter parents and don't fall down. I don't know. I don't think you should go do that. I don't know. It could be bad. It could be dangerous. It's ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
Luckily I never, you know, I didn't have a whole lot of that growing up. My dad was like, just go outside and have fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, be careful, but it was never.
Yeah. It's changed.
Yeah. Like you have to fall down.
Yeah.
You know, skateboarding, I think taught me a lot because when I played team sports, I was such a wuss kid. Hated getting hit, was afraid of it, was small, like didn't have a lot of confidence and just sucked. And not until I started skateboarding, I got really good at skateboarding. And that taught me like doing something that's extremely hard and difficult. Nobody's watching me.
Right.
You know, nobody saw me kickflip Marlon's 5-stair the first time. I just did it for me. Nobody saw it.
You landed that?
It took a bunch of time. I mean, I still have scars, but what that teaches you is like, there's no audience. Now there's always an audience to everything. It was just me and this challenge, and how am I going to rise to that challenge on my own? When there's no reward other than the self, you know, gratification that I did something that was hard and scary and painful.
Post it.
Yeah, and I remember my dad one time, I used to there's times where I would freak out skating, like in my street, trying to kickflip the manhole or whatever. And I'd get so mad and frustrated. And my dad came out and he was like, "Are you going to let this skateboard kick your ass like this?" And I was like, "No," and I like went back out there and like kept trying and trying again. But I think that, you have to go, what I'm trying to say is you have to meet challenges in your life just for you, understanding that that's how you grow. Like, I'm not going to walk away from this thing afraid. Like, I remember snowboarding one time. We had a lot of snow that winter, and I took my snowshoes up there, snowboard on my back on a backpack. There's no one around. I was hiking on Strawberry. I'm on Sisters Ridge hiking along, and like an idiot, I wanted to look at this cornice because it looked like a huge wave. It was melted. It was all rounded out. It was awesome. But I go and I put my left foot on the slope, lose my footing, go right to my back, start sliding down the mountain. And I luckily knew the mountain well enough. I know what's below me, and it's a band of cliffs with some shrubs on top. Like, I remember it's kind of cool. Everything slowed down, and I was able to get to I had to get on my side so I could control how I was sliding down, grab the bushes before going off a cliff. And like, pretty scary. But I remember sat there. I thought I broke my ankle again. I sat there, I took stock, and I remember just getting swarmed by flies. It was the weirdest thing, like hundreds of flies all over. It was maddening.
What time of year?
It's probably May, probably early May.
Okay.
And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I just get out of here. But I hiked back up and skied what I set out to do. Because I knew if I left that situation, I was just going to be afraid of it. Like, I would have left that thing and been like, man, that was really scary. I don't know if I'm going to do that again.
Right.
And yeah, a little reckless on my part. I shouldn't have been like, I just made a mistake, and it almost cost me dearly, but I chose to take that situation and learn from it. And like I do with everything, do it the hard way, challenge myself. But I didn't want to walk away from that experience being afraid of snowboarding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that with anything. I don't want to, I don't want to fall in love, or I don't want to not fall in love, or I don't want to not have these friendships, or I don't want to not have these experiences because I'm afraid of getting hurt. And hey, if that's what happens, then so be it. But I'm not going to rob myself beforehand because I'm afraid of something. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to get hurt again. It's like, well, you're going to anyway. So
yeah,
fuck it.
Yeah.
Chances are, man, you're going to get hurt again. So you might as well just keep trucking, keep going forward.
A lot of fear and addiction, a lot of addicts who are so scared of getting hurt. I mean, you constantly see that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Totally just fear-based life. I mean, fear's everything. I would say it's in all the suffering. Anybody who's suffering in their head with anything, that it's always linked to some form of fear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like when I first got into this and I had to start speaking in front of people, or it's like, dude, the worry, the fear of that was a gnarly thing to overcome,
Yeah.
But if you start believing like, all right, well, God wants you, like, you believe that God wants you to do this, and you've been praying, in my prayers, a lot of time I would ask God to, help me with my fears. And the only way you're going to, so then he gives you, okay, here's a chance for you to speak. Oh, I don't want to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's like, all right, well, here's my chance. You're not just going to overcome your fears and your weaknesses become strengths by just asking God to do it and then him not putting you in positions to overcome fear.
Yeah.
It's like if you're talking to God about being patient, all right, well, he's going to put you in the longest line.
Yeah.
And have you stand there and be patient. You're not just going to say, oh, today I got the gift of patience inside my soul.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's like, so it's just interesting. Like it's all put in the you're always going to have to overcome a fear, But it's easier. The one thing that Tyler Larson always said to me is like, dude, do it scared. If you're scared, do it scared. That's a message I say to kids a lot. I'm like, dude, if you're scared, do it scared.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to be smart. Like going back to the snowboarding thing, like, you know, I'm not saying just be reckless, but like,
yeah, absolutely.
but like smart things when you got a chance to, or somebody's scared to go to college. It's like, I'm just scared. I might not be able to do it. I don't know, dude. Just do it scared and and just step into it and go, you know?
Yeah. It's like, so what? You're scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so what?
I mean, everybody is. You know, you're scared to drive. Take the back roads a little bit. And
yeah.
Go to the lights until you get comfortable, but you can't just say you're scared to drive. Like, dude, you got to learn how to drive.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
I want to tell you though, bro, I wanted to thank you for always like reaching out to me when I was struggling. And I feel bad that, because I didn't really get to see your journey when you first started back in here because I was struggling, you know?
Yeah.
But you helped me a lot. And I always want to let you know that because you're very direct, dude. And like the way you tell stories and the stuff that you say, like it helped me. You know what I mean? And I just want to let you know that before we wrap this up. So I appreciate what you're doing with SOAR and everybody and sticking around and helping people, you know?
Yeah.
But I really want to get you involved with those kids because, dude, I just listen to you and kids love you, bro. Is the way you are. And like I think you'd be able to help a lot of kids.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what you've helped to create this place.
Yeah.
You know, I speak about it all the time, like in birthday meetings or just how special of a place this truly is. And it is unlike anything else. I'd rather hang out with people here than go to some dumb party where people are just talking the same dumb shit,
right.
You know, or just the same like social peacocking. No, I'm fine. It's all good over here.
Yeah.
I can't. You know, I'd rather just be with people who are honest and down to earth and aren't full of shit and aren't trying to put on a front or a facade or,
right.
You know, and I'm not saying everybody does that. Not even close, but just what interests you changes. And I'm glad I was able to help.
Yeah.
That was my intention. I'm glad you're doing well, of course, but yeah, man, this is just an amazing place. And I want to become a part of its function and make sure people learn, make sure people are able to keep coming here and learning the things that I've learned.
Yeah.
And especially the kids, because if I can help one kid not go through what I went through, then my life's good.
Yeah.
Then it was worth it, you know?
Right.
Luckily enough, I've got a friend that came in here.
Couple friends.
Yeah, and it seems to be working well for them. And I was on the phone before I came in here talking about how, like, that's what makes me feel proud.
Yeah.
You know, like the fact that people will listen to me enough to, well, maybe I'll try what he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't see ourselves through anyone else's eyes, but ours.
Right.
I'm just happy I can be of any help to anybody. You know, especially the kids. Their kids are just kids.
Yeah. But especially these kids in this generation that need that. I'm at that alternative school, you know, and I see, damn, there's just a lot of kids that are just struggling.
Yeah.
So trapped in their heads, you know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, bro. That was a good talk.
Yeah, man. Thanks
for everything. Nice. Yeah, this was nice. How long?